Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. I'm Sue, and you've just stepped into Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Every week, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, a remarkable entrepreneur who's not just changing the world, but also harnessing a secret weapon, time outdoors. Together, we'll dive into their journey, unpack invaluable business advice, and discover why embracing the wild is not just good for the soul, but also a goldmine for inspiration and innovation. Ready to uncover the secret that's boosting bottom lines and fueling joy? Hit subscribe and join us in the wild. Hey, welcome back to Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Today, this one's a little bit different. I'm interviewing myself. I realize that a lot of you know me through Wildwoods Retreat or Entrepreneurs Gone Wild community, but you might not know the story behind this and how I got here, why I care so deeply about what this place is that we're creating and what I'm doing. So I thought I'd share a little behind the scenes, where I came from, what I'm building, why it matters. Welcome. All right. First of all, I'm sitting in front of Otter Beach, which is kind of fun. This is nice. It's very hot here. It's hot. It's June 24th, I think it is. Yeah, it's the 25th today, and very hot out. So I'm sitting with my feet in the creek, which is one of the best places when it's hot here. But let's dive in. The first question I always ask every guest is, who do you serve and what problem do you help them solve? In a nutshell, I serve purpose-driven entrepreneurs in a couple different ways, especially creatives, coaches, product creators, founders, people who are doing big work, but they're stuck in the grind. A lot of them are burned out. They've been heads down for so long that they're building and pushing and grinding, and they've lost space for clarity, for the kind of creativity that really feels like fuel to them. And a lot of them are pretty lonely. They don't get to see anybody in their day-to-day life. Maybe their spouse gets what they do, but most people don't. Ask a neighbor, hey, what do you think I do for work? They're going to have no idea. This is important. It's very isolating like that. And so those are things that I'm helping to solve. I help entrepreneurs reconnect with that. I'm Gen X. Now the joke is, how can you tell if somebody is Gen X? Well, they'll tell you in the first 5 seconds. I did make it longer. But I had a great childhood running around, playing out in the woods and staying out until the street lights came on, drinking from the hose and, all that kind of stuff that made my generation. And many generations following that did not have that. My own kids did not have that. These generations had mostly indoors childhoods. And it's not that that's all bad, but there's something that was missing, I think. And I'm finding that there are a lot of people who really either miss what they had as a kid or missed out on having that. And that's important to me to help provide that. I'm helping them reconnect with that feral kid running around in the woods with messy hair, skinned up knees, belly full of hose water. At Wildwoods Retreat, people step out of the noise, back into a space that feels unrushed. It's like a time machine. Go back 50 years, in some ways anyway. Maybe no Kool-Aid. We drank a lot of Kool-Aid with the sugar in it. Really, really high sugar, cup of sugar and that stuff. But getting into a space where they can find that clarity again and just breathe. Before all the tech was here. Before the constant dinging and notifications and Zoom meetings and all of that. Through Wildly Known, that's a whole different thing. That's my writing offer that I have now. This is where I help entrepreneurs bring forth the stories, the experiences, the deep work that makes them who they are uniquely. Like they've probably have been on the road to creating what they are now for a long, long time. They were signs, in other words, signs of what they were going to be doing. They've created processes and unique products and different offers that are able to really, really serve somebody who's going through a transformation or wanting to go through a transformation. And because they've also gone through that, they're uniquely situated to be able to help them. And I also help them tell their story of successes, the people that they've served wonderfully. Most of the time we get testimonials and it's kind of like, oh, Jeff is awesome. I love that guy. He helped me so much. Great to hear. Kind of useless as far as helping somebody else make that same decision and seeing that it was a wise one. So I help to fix that. Really, when you put those both together, it's back to clarity, creativity, true voice. And that's through, them hearing themselves out in nature, them reconnecting with that, whatever it is that matters most to them. And then also through their storytelling so that they can tell compelling stories that actually help people lean in and go, oh, yeah, and recognize themselves. So that's what I do in a nutshell. It comes in a couple different places, different ways. So if you want to come stay at Wildwoods Retreat, we have this place right now is on Airbnb. We're building the geodesic dome. It's 98% assembled. Now we've got a lot of other work to do on it. So I'm thinking September 2025. Also holding some private tent-based retreats this summer and early fall. We can do that. And then with Wildly Known, it's a 45-minute conversation. You don't prepare anything. We just show up together on the call. I'm prepared. You don't have to prepare. I ask you some questions. I go away for 72 hours or so and come back with these incredible pieces of content that people are saying, oh my gosh, I've never been able to say it like this. So kind of fun. I really do love it. All right, but I wanted to talk to you about the other parts. So normally, I usually dig into like, how did you get where you are? I think this all kind of started back behind the mower. When I was a kid, I really wanted this 10-speed Schwinn bike, where you had to lean down and it's the really lean bike, bright blue, black seat. This was my dream bicycle. I used to ride my bike to school and I really wanted one. I was done with the banana seat. Now I kind of wish I had it back, and I would mow lawns, our family lawn. I would babysit. I would do cleaning, anything that I could do to raise money to get this bike. And it was $1 per mow back then. So I ought to do the conversion based on inflation and all, but it still was not a whole lot of money. But I did find I was getting really good ideas. I just didn't notice it. Now that's actually one of my favorite ways to go get great ideas is push mowing. It's crazy. But I built the first business that I built from scratch. I kind of joke that I spent the first 17 years of that business indoors, trapped, looking at screens. I did it to myself. I had listened to all the hustle bros say, work your face off. You can sleep when you're dead. If you're not working, somebody else is 10xing. I'm not naming names, but I think you know. And those voices have been around for a while, and I listened. Sometimes when I'm on podcasts, people will ask, well, if you could go back in time and tell your, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, tell your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? And I would say, all right, there's going to be these guys called the hustle bros. Yeah, there's some women too, but and they're going to tell you that you can't go outside until you're done working. And they're going to tell you that the most important thing you can be doing is working. And if you're not working, that you're falling behind and being irresponsible. And especially if you have a family to feed, you don't have that luxury until you've made it. And I would tell myself, when you start hearing that, don't listen. Tune them out, turn them off, run, because it's not good. It's not good for you. I've learned that. I was in Florida, so yeah, I figured everything was going to be hot, buggy, and boring anyway, so I didn't really want to go outside. I didn't even know I was missing anything. Until a few years back, I read a book by a guy named Trevor Blake called 3 Simple Steps. It was a signed reading from where I was working before. I used to work at capitalism.com, and that was assigned. And I thought, all right, fine, I'll read it. So the author is Trevor Blake. He's in his 50s, started building businesses of his own. And he did it with no employees, just outsourcing. He wrote this book about it. And he was talking about how he would spend maybe 3-4 hours a day working. But 2 or 3 of those hours, he was out in the woods walking his dog. And I was like, really? But it's true. I've had the pleasure of meeting him. I've heard him speak. I mean, it's true. It's legit. And he's done this multiple times. And I started thinking, that's interesting. He's got this blend of neuroscience and woo, but it's really neuroscience. But then you're here like, anyhow, I was like, fine, little thought experiment. I'll start trying to do this. At the time, I was living in Alabama with my husband, and we were, we'd have coffee out on the porch. And I thought, all right, let's do it 5 minutes earlier. No phones. We'll sit here on the porch and drink our tea or coffee. And fine. It's okay. It is hot, buggy, boring. But it started to catch. And I was like, this is really weird. So I would extend it. Oh, honey, you go on in. I'll be in a few minutes. I'm just going to deadhead these roses over here. And that's actually where it really got going. I was deadheading roses and going, I wonder if there's a use for these. I'm of Scottish descent, so we're thrifty. I was like, what could I do? Oh, wait, I could make a tea. I don't really like tea, but I could do that. I could make a jelly. I could make syrup. Oh my goodness. It became fascinating to me, seeing a plant and going, what are you? What are your uses? What is this? And gradually that started taking over. And I found myself not only having that time in the morning, but we'd have lunch and I'm like, oh, good. I've got 20 minutes before a call. I'm going outside. At the end of the day, mind if we hold on dinner for a little bit? I'm going to go outside and play for a little bit. It started really going crazy. Not too long after that, I watched Frank Kern. So Stan Way, some of you may know him, but he had advised, hey, you guys should do a vivid vision and the perfect average day exercise. And he assigned this, explained how to do it. Frank Kern has a 2-hour and something video on YouTube explaining the perfect average day exercise and what he got from it and how he recommends people to do it. So required viewing. I listened to this thing actually as I was driving. I was like 2 hours. But as I was listening, it was registering. Not long after that, I was on a very long car ride driving. And all of a sudden I had this download of an idea. Hey, you should build a retreat center for entrepreneurs and do it in the Smokies. Okay. Didn't see that coming. So the ideas are pouring and I'm like, oh, I'm driving. Hello, I'm driving. So I pulled over. I'm taking mad notes. Keep up. And I realized I still have like 4 hours of this ride. I can't sit here all day. I'm going to drive. I'm going to take notes, but not look at them. That's going to be interesting to see what happens if I can read them later. And I did this. And for page after page after page after page, the whole idea just unfolded. And I was like, wow. And I came home. Imagine this. Hey, honey, hear me out. What do you think if I just had the craziest idea. What do you think if we sell everything? Buy property up in the Smokies and build a retreat center for entrepreneurs. God love him. Hubby said, that's interesting. Maybe. I think that could work. Let's look at it. Well, fast forward, here we are. Craziness. The power of having a vision is something, and you won't have that if you're just always stuck behind a desk looking at screens or got noise in your ears all the time. You have to make that space sometimes to see something grow, and that's what happened. So it was a crazy start. We bought the property with some help from angel investors. God love you guys. In early 2022. Still had a business to wrap up in Alabama. We used to own Air-Cooled Customs, which was a custom Volkswagen restoration shop. We did amazing work, like the kind that goes on magazine covers, taking cars out to Vegas, winning prizes, all this kind of stuff. It was just amazing. And that was hubby's dream. Things went a little weird. We ended up having to close that business. But it's possible it was the best thing ever because it did get us here faster. It might have been another 10 years before we'd wrapped up before, but we're here. And so we came up here in end of March 2024. And since then, being boots on the ground, It's incredible the things that have happened. I'm 57, he's 58, he's turning 59 soon. We're a little older than what normal construction crews might look like. So, but he had 15, 20 years in construction. So he knew all phases of it, everything about how to do basically anything. And his brain is like MacGyver and Robinson Crusoe. I always say it's this crazy combination. So, hey, hubby, how could we do this? Or how can we do that? And he'll figure it out. So he has moved into the position of just thinking. And then my son, Zach, who is 28 and very strong and very smart, he's the guy who's physically building all this. Sometimes we help with things, like if it's not a one-person job, we'll go help him. But he has done things like carving steps into the side of the mountain. Like, it's gorgeous. I have videos up if you want to see those. He built Otter Beach. He's built the dome deck that we had up there. Hubby helped a little bit with that, but he created, it's amazing. Like, I'm able to just say, Zach, can we do this? Or something like this, but over here. He just built a rainwater shower that goes with the dome. So you can have an outdoor shower, hot, propane, but with rainwater. And it's just amazing. So I've been incredibly blessed to watch this happen. He's going to be the property manager. Once all the building is done, then he'll have it a lot easier. But it's coming along, and it's one of those things where, at 57, did I see this coming? No, not at all. But if I look way back, kinda. I mean, playing in the woods, going to camp, all that kind of stuff, just loving being outside. The seeds were there. So that's what happened. I lived with the hustle. I decided that was not for me. Found a whole lot of entrepreneurs who said same thing for them. So I always also ask my guests, what is that thing you're doing when you're outdoors? How do you spend the time? How do you collect those ideas you're going to get? So I'm going to give you all of mine. I did mention already, I love being behind the push mower. I think there's just something about the white noise and a task I don't have to think a whole lot about. And it's repetitive enough that I'm out there for a while. So at first the brain is going, and then it settles down. Then the ideas start coming, and it's like, oh, it's cool. That's cool. That's cool. So that's one of my favorites. But I also just really enjoy taking a walk in the morning. We've got 4 dogs. 3 of them go on walks. One of them is too old. She's kind of a speed bump at this point. But I take the walk up in the hill. I'll tell you about the land in a second. But take the dogs up there in the hills and go for a walk. Almost every single time I'll get a great idea. And I'll bring my phone. I only use it for taking pictures up there and leaving myself a voice memo, because the biggest lie, if you're over 50, if you're over 40, you probably know this already, but the biggest lie becomes, oh, I'll remember that. That's such a great idea. There's no way I'll forget that. No. You got to capture them. So the property here, I wanted to tell you about this. I'm sitting in the creek. It has a name. It's Roaring Fork Creek, but we call this part Otter Beach because there was an otter that lived 50 feet away. She's somewhere in the creek still. She makes a new nest every year, or I think they call it a couch, which is crazy because it's so cute. So she's up and down in the creek, loves my son, which is funny. I've seen her, but only when he was around, and hubby has never seen her. But it's kind of cute. And she's amazing. So we called her Olivia. This is Otter Beach in her honor. Then there's about 6 acres of pasture, and then the rest of the 30 acres, it's wooded hills. So up there's about a 1/4-mile walk on a wood chip road that takes you back to where the first geodesic dome is. You walk this beautiful, fairly flat path, then you go up a hill, and then the dome is back on that side. On the other side, if you turn left when you get to the end of the wood chip road, that's where the bulk of the property is, and it's just gorgeous. Not developed at all yet, but it's really pretty. So wandering around in the woods, that's a big thing. Just noticing what's growing. That's an interesting thing. I've gotten a lot of ideas just seeing these plants have seasons. huh, businesses have seasons, humans have seasons. It's just this cascade of thoughts that wouldn't happen if I was just indoors. It's a big thing. We are thinking about or planning to put in a wood-fired sauna, wood-fired hot tubs. The creek, people ask about a cold plunge. I'm like, well, the creek is pretty chilly. So I think we'll probably leave it at the creek, but it is refreshing, and you do get some thoughts when you're freezing. So there's something. But a lot of it is just spending the time unscheduled. So I work, still work all day, serving my wildly known clients, starting to get things ramped up for the retreat center itself, trying to raise some funds for that. It's $1 million project. So we have a thing that I'm looking at doing. It's going to happen. We need to get the first dome finished, but then hear me out. This is pretty cool. We'll do a thing called Dome Buddies or Dome Partners. I got to get a better name. And it'll be a group of people or one person. It could be either way. And they put up $75,000. That becomes the next geodesic dome. So we order it, build it, furnish it, maintain it, rent it, all of that. They get to come anytime they want, a few weeks, whatever they want to do. We'll work that part out. And then we give back 25% of rents until they've doubled their money. So that's kind of cool. So that's one way we're looking at it. We're also looking at doing a crowdfunding Indiegogo inspired by some friends that did something similar for their beautiful place down in Georgia, the Cummings. Absolutely stunning what they're doing. But we need to have the pictures first of that first dome. So once we've got that, that's going to make it easier, because it's very hard to raise money with people who are just imagining. That's what angel investors do. And it's a beautiful thing. But beyond that, you kind of have to show them something. So that's going to be that. I just feel like the time that we can spend outdoors rather than on these scheduled Zoom calls, like, oh, sorry, I got to hop off. I got another call to get to. It's very hard to make connections that way. But if you can sit around a campfire or sit down here at the creek with your feet in the water and just chat, just sit and think, go in the hammock, read a book, that's where things really start to get fertile in our brains. We've also discovered a lot of people are very interested in learning how to do things the old way, right? Because, we were off-grid completely for a while. We do have electric power now, but we're also on solar. That's what, the bulk of the retreat center is going to be. So there are a lot of things, a lot of building techniques, a lot of foraging for herbs and native plants that have medicinal uses, and just all kinds of things that, like, 100 years ago people knew and they don't know anymore. But we're finding that there are a lot of people who are interested in that too. So that's going to be part of it, the experience here, for anybody who wants. Basically, when people ask, what am I going to do when I'm there? It's every retreat, whether you're here by yourself or you're here with a whole group of people, maybe you're a coach and you bring your people, it's all going to be different. It depends on what you need. If you just want to come here and write a book, so cool. This will be great. You just have the peace and the space to do it. And we'll give you the charger so your devices don't run out. But that's kind of cool. For other people, they want to come and bring a group, and fantastic. We're working on building a list of caterers and yoga teachers and photographers, and I've got a lady who creates these amazing swag bags for events, and just all the different things that a retreat leader might need to have in order to really serve their people in this in-person, very intimate environment. So we want to be that place where it's so easy to go here because we take care of everything for you. For people who want to come here to, like, have a planning meeting, brainstorming, hey, I'm looking at my next year, that type of stuff too. Like, whatever it is that you need, we're able to work with it. We've got, like I said, some outside services we can provide. I'm studying forest therapy. So I'll tell you, go sit under that tree and journal. For people that want to learn how to do things, that's cool too. You can stay and come dig in the dirt, whatever you want to do here. It, it really is a really special place, and we're very, very excited to share it. Thanks so much for letting me share my story today. That's been weird and fun, but I appreciate you being here for it. If you're curious about Wildwoods Retreat or Wildly Known, just reach out. If you're ready to build some space for yourself and your work so that they can grow in a deeper way, reach out. If it's Wildly Known, send me a message that says in the jar, and I'll know exactly what we need to talk about. This is what lights me up, and I'd love to welcome you to all of it.